In 2002, Japan was shocked by a horrifying discovery at a Tokyo railway station. One of the carriages caught fire due to an electrical malfunction, and passengers were forced to hurriedly leave the train. In a few hours, when the authorities started sorting out the luggage left in panic by the passengers, they found something terrible in one of the bags. A teenage girl with amputated limbs, packed in plastic with small breathing holes. Her vocal cords were removed to deprive her of the ability to scream. It was astonishing that there were no signs of violence on her. Her health was not in danger. Her body was battered but in good condition. The girl was wrapped in the same plastic used to package toys. The number 72 was written on the bundle with the girl inside with a marker. In the same scheme, there was a notebook with a list of her allergies, a menstrual calendar, and other health-related information. The police tried to get information from her about the people who did this to her, but their attempts were futile. She couldn't speak or write. She didn't have other communication skills. 6 years later, the now 20-year-old woman was finally able to share past events. The woman's name was Kikumi Tattoo. She had been missing since 1999.
Her parents considered her dead.
And she told that an unknown man said that her parents sent him to pick her up, and she got into his car. The man covered her eyes and sprayed something in her face, after which she lost consciousness. She came to herself in a large, brightly lit white room in a locked cage with 2 other girls. An operating table stood in the center of the room. A man in surgical garb, with an electric saw in hand, prepared to amputate the leg of the girl laying in front of him. One of her legs had been amputated previously and the hand, judging by the bandages, quite recently. The most horrifying thing for Kikumi was seeing the girls lying along the far wall, who had already undergone surgery. Despite the fact that they didn't move, they breathed and blinked. After what she saw, Kikumi passed out. She came around tied to a bed. To her horror, she couldn't utter a single word. She was trying to scream in vain and couldn't feel the fingers on one of her hands. Her left hand was cut off, and the stump neatly stitched. She is not alone in the room. The girls lying there have had 1 to 3 limbs amputated. All are voiceless. Some of them twitch, trying to free themselves from the handcuffs and chains holding them. Others simply look up and cry. Everything is in complete silence. Kukumi says he lost his sense of time quite quickly as they were drugged daily. She was fed 3 times a day. The hooks from her upper body were removed and she could feed herself with the remaining hand. First, she tosses food onto the floor, then picks it up from there and starts eating. Having no one to interact with and seeing no one but other girls, she begins to lose her sanity. She doesn't know the current time of day, her abductors, or their goals. From time to time, one of the girls disappears, soon returning with 1 less limb. Even though there should be several weeks between amputations, track of time has been lost. After losing her last limb, the left leg, she was moved to a place called the exhibition hall. Even in a new room, she still lies in bed. The hall is round in shape and has clean air. Along the walls are platforms. On them are beds with girls. Next to each one, there's a note. In the center is the operating table with tools. Next to it a cage which was empty at the time. For the first time since she was held captive, she sees her kidnapper face to face. This is an elderly man with a grey beard. She sees compassion in his face. He looks like a typical grandpa, not a hint of evil in his eyes. He removes her shackles and she tries to bite him. Apparently, he was ready for this. He pushes her back onto the bed and attaches a metal plate to her back, attached by some mechanism to the back of her head and pelvis. Kikumi didn't know that she had fittings implanted into her skull and spine in conjunction with a plate, depriving her of the last chance to move. A man brought a shield about 1.5 meters long with mounts and 2 crushes. He picked up Kikumi and placed her on the shield, securing her plate. The shield with the attached girl was hung on the wall. An elderly man left the room, turning off the room lights. Kukumi says that the first night was a real nightmare. Sounds of blinking eyelashes surrounded her from all sides, scaring more than the loudest scream. She stays awake for several days before she can fall asleep. After waking up, her face is lit, but there is no one around. The other girls have makeup on their faces. They are arranged in order of age from youngest to oldest. She realized that they had been gathering for quite some time. They all look like typical Japanese women with long dark hair and fair skin. A man returns to the hall with a bottle of something liquid inside. He approaches each of them in turn and pours the contents into their mouths. After that, he makes another round, this time giving them water and checking their body condition again. For the fourth time, he simply admires his collection, adjusts someone's hair or dusts off. From time to time, 3 girls are chosen. Their left hands are cut off, their last extremities. They wrap them in plastic, hide them in boxes, and take them away. When her turn comes, the number 72 is written on her plastic. Through her box, she hears the sound of an engine, then other people. In a few hours they'll find her. In a few years they'll catch her abductor, who will unexpectedly and inexplicably die. They will never find the room with the other victims. Every year in Japan, tens of thousands of people go missing. 70% of them are underage girls.